Sid, I was wondering if you could help me.
It depends what with.
A bearer, but recently freed from his bonds, is keen to join the Curse Breakers. As you know, the work we do is not easy, which is why we test every volunteer's suitability. I was hoping you could oversee this one's evaluation.
I don't mind, but why this one?
Because he wants to be a scout. Our ranks are filled with men and women capable of breaking chains and putting slavers to the sword. But scouting, we're few with the nose for that, which is why we still rely so heavily on Gav. And since he accompanies you on so many of your missions, I thought you might be better placed to recognize the traits in him that we should look for in those who'd fill his boots.
Sounds reasonable.
So you're happy to oversee the boys' test, then?
One can never have too many scouts.
Truer words, Sid. I'll let the initiate know that you'll be attending his trial, and that he is to proceed directly to Northreach in readiness.
No time like the present, eh?
No time like the present. I'll await you there.
Northreach. I don't suppose they could have chosen somewhere closer. Nazir might at least have mentioned where in Northreach he'd be testing this recruit.
I'm nervous. Is it alright to be nervous?
Well met, Sid. This is the initiate. Ember, present yourself.
At your service, Master.
Please, just Sid. There are no masters here. Your life is your own.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Sid. The sergeant says you'll be evaluating me at my trial.
To become a scout, yes. You are aware of the dangers inherent in that role.
I am. But I swore I'd face them. Just like the man who saved my life.
And who would that be?
Gav. It was him who found me and freed me. No magic, no support, just one man and his nose. Came and sniffed me out. It taught me what one man can do if he puts his mind to it. And I've been training ever since, so that one day I can be someone's saviour, just like Gav was mine.
I'm sure he'd be flattered. You clearly have good intentions, Ember. And it sounds like you're under no illusions. Stick to this path and you'll make a fine Cursebreaker.
So, what? Have I passed?
You haven't even started yet. Now listen. Not far from here is an Imperial lookout, Eastwatch. The guards there record all their sightings in a logbook. You are to find it and bring it here.
And bring it here, right. Anything else?
No. Sneaking into a heavily guarded Imperial outpost and stealing the logbook would be quite sufficient. You'll need to assess the situation, determine a point of entry, create a distraction and effect an escape, all without being discovered and thrown into an Imperial oubliette.
Ember, Gav isn't our best scout because he can do everything. It's essential that you know your limits.
Know my limits, right. I won't let you down.
It shouldn't be as dangerous as I made out. But keep a weather eye on him all the same, would you?
On my way. All right, Ember. Impress me. This won't be easy. These are clean kills. Perhaps Yolanda really is ready. Or maybe not. Damn it.
Ember, draw your sword!
I can't!
Then run!
If you want him, you'll have to go through me. Ember, are you... Gone. Of course. Scouts really are a rare breed. Back to Northreach it is, then.
The garrison said they'd take another 100 of the box.
Those whites will think twice before attacking.
I didn't expect you back so soon. Where is Ember? How did he fare?
I thought I'd find him with you. He must have fled. I followed him to Eastwatch, where I found him being set upon by a wild Avis. He was just standing there. Didn't even draw his sword. I had to step in and take care of things. But by the time I had, he was nowhere to be seen. I assumed he'd set off in your direction, but apparently not.
I'm sorry, Sid. I knew the boy had a nervous streak, but he seemed like...
The right man for the job? I believe this is the logbook you tasked me with retrieving.
Eh? How did you... Don't you tell me you breached the tower while Sid was busy saving your skin.
What? Wasn't that what you asked me to do? To bring the thing back without getting caught?
He has you there, Nazaire. And he did it all on his own.
But Sid, he
did what he thought was best. And now I have to decide whether I agree.
Of course. We'll await your evaluation back at the hideaway. Don't you leave my sight.
Yes, Sergeant.
This won't be an easy decision.
There's something about it.
You should have seen him.
Welcome back, Sid.
Welcome back, Sid.
Yes. Welcome back. Trip wasn't too much of a pain in the arse, I hope. Truth be told, it was me who suggested roping you in to help with the trial. But from what I hear, things didn't go quite as planned.
No, they most certainly did not. Ember lost his nerve in the face of a beast of prey, but he didn't lose heart. He pressed on, and he achieved his aim. And is that not what we ask of our scouts?
Indeed it is. Thank you for your honest appraisal, Sid. The fact remains, however, that Ember will not always have a battle-hardened warrior on hand to pluck him from the jaws of peril. All I have gleaned from this trial is that without someone watching his back, Ember is little more than a liability.
Wait, Sergeant. Ember still has much to learn, it's true. And this time he was found wanting. But I'd say he's due a second chance, nonetheless. After all, he did do as you asked.
With a bit of hard work, any hand can be made to hold a blade, and any mind can conquer its fears. But a scout's nose is different. You've either got one, or you ain't. And by sniffing out that log, young Ember here has shown he has a conch and a half. Wouldn't do to waste it now, would it?
Fine. One more chance.
I'll do whatever you ask. I'll spend my days and nights in the pit if I have to. I'll show you. Just you wait.
Daft as a brush, that one. But his heart's in the right place. Just like someone else we know. And if you ask me, we've been leaning on him for far too long. That time the curse breakers took some of the weight off his shoulders, I reckon.
It couldn't hurt.
Just don't tell Gav I said so, will you? I won't have him thinking he's been hard done by. Next thing you know, he'll be asking for a day off. Chance would be a fine thing. Back to work.
Forgive me, Sid. This did not play out as I expected.
Things rarely do these days. But that's why we need men like Ember more than ever. Men who can make the best out of a bad situation. Remember that.
I will, Sid. Thank you.
You have the look of a man with the twins upon his shoulders, Rodrigue.
Talia has tasked me with removing a Cursebreaker's brand. But it's my first time, and I don't think I can do it. I'm afraid of what happens if I fail. You survived, I know, but there as many die as recover. Is it really worth the risk?
You don't need me to answer that. You know full well what we're fighting for. I hope as much as you that one day bearers can walk among others as equals. But until that day, a brand is a burden, and we must lift that burden in order to go undetected. The operation may be dangerous, but it's also essential, and we undergo it willingly.
I know. I still wish there was some other way. But griping about my lot helps no one, I suppose. Don't worry. I'll do what must be done.
I know you will.
Unfortunately, the first thing that needs doing is the preparation of a draft to dull the pain. Something I can't do with the infirmary's ammonia supply so low. What few leaves we have would barely be enough for removing a splinter, let alone a brand.
Just tell me what you need.
You'll go? Oh, thank you. No one knows Herblord like Talia, and she swears by ammonia for easing pain. It's simple enough to find, if you know where to look. And fortunately for you, I do. Along the river near the village of Amber over in Rosaria. Just search for the bright blue blossoms.
Fly, Ambrosia. The river was easy enough to find. Now for those herbs. You deserve a rest. This is the only plant around here with blue flowers. I hope it's the right one. Should be enough to keep the infirmary stocked for a while.
There's something about it. I feel like it's... You nearly collapsed back there.
I hope you didn't have too much trouble finding the ammonia.
Only the usual.
Oh, yes. This is it. And more than I was expecting. I dare say the patient won't feel a thing. That is, unless I...
You'll do fine. Talia trusts you, which means I trust you. The hideaway would be lost without skilled physicers like yourself.
Thank you for the kind words. Truly. But... I'm sorry. I'm still terrified. The brand is more than just ink on flesh. It's a death sentence. Milk of the wyvern tail lurking just below the surface of the skin. One ill-conceived incision, a single slip, and the poison fouls the patient's blood. Failure means death, and even success means tremendous pain. Days of agony as the wound heals. I became a physiker to help people, not to kill them. I don't want to kill anyone.
Cursebreakers lead hard lives. And the operation is only the beginning. They toil in the shadows, risking life and limb, knowing their efforts will win them neither glory nor acclaim. And yet we have no shortage of volunteers. The day I decided that I would take Sid's name was the same day Taya took my brand.
I remember. It wasn't long after we came here. What little medicine Taya managed to salvage from the wreckage of the old place had been used up treating the wounded. She begged that your operation be delayed until a new supply of antalgics was found. Procedure was even more dangerous back then. Only a few souls had undertaken it. Doris, Cole, a handful of other curse breakers, and those who are no longer with us. Those who lost their lives in the process. It wasn't something to be done lightly.
No. But it was something I had to do, if I was to take Sid's name. He always led from the front, and never asked anyone to take a risk for his cause that he was unwilling to take himself, even if he knew that it might cost him his life.
Hold still, Clive! Hold still!
I knew there'd be pain. That I might not survive. And I was afraid. But I also knew that if I didn't overcome that fear, that pain, then I would never be able to call myself Sid.
I didn't know.
We all want our brands removed. But it's a decision each of us must make for ourselves, on our own terms. Rodriguez, I know your work isn't easy, but neither is going under the knife. Be a shoulder for your patients to lean on. Stay strong for them.
You sound like Taya. Do you know what she once told me? It's natural for a patient to feel like they're suffering in solitude. And it's a physicist's duty to see that they don't. Thank you for helping me remember that. I won't falter. Not again. She can't keep this up much longer. Glory to Griga. There you are. And not a moment too soon.
What's happened?
Taya's busy working herself into an early grave. Since the arrival of her latest patient, she's refused to stop, even for a moment. I've tried offering to see to him in her stead, but she won't hear of it. Clive, she hasn't left the infirmary in days. She's pushing herself too hard. And if she doesn't rest soon, will you talk to her? Order her to her chambers if that's what it takes. Because if she keeps this up, I fear the hideaway will be without its best physica before too long.
I know better than to order Taya to do anything, but I'll speak to her.
Thank you. I pray you have better luck than I did.
Well, Taya, Rodriguez worried about you. And if what he says is true, then so am I. We all admire your dedication, but you do need to rest.
I will, when it's time. Until then, I'm staying put. We owe him that much.
Who is he?
Someone from my past. Someone who doesn't deserve to die alone. It won't be much longer. The crystal's curse has almost finished its work. If I had the tears, I could ease his passing. But without them, we've nothing that will touch the agony of those last few hours.
How would tears help this man?
Not my tears. Tears of mercy. Alicia, it's the only thing strong enough.
You wouldn't, Taya. Surely. There must be something we can do for him.
Sometimes an easy death is the greatest kindness we can offer. You do well to remember that, Rodrigue.
I will. We have all the ingredients we need for Alicia Balwam. It needs to be fresh, though, so we rarely have much to hand. I can make the draft if you can bring me what we're missing.
Just tell me what you need.
There is a species of venom-weeping spider that lives in the forests of Norvent, near Lorbert's Pass. Bring me one of their eyes. Preserve it as best you can, but avoid contact with the tears. I'll make sure the other ingredients are ready before you return.
Thank you, Clive. I won't forget this.
Rodrigue could have mentioned his spiders would be the size of curls.
Thank goodness you're back. Taya Looks like she's about to collapse.
Is this what you needed?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Clive. I'm loath to give a patient Alicia, but Taya's right. Sometimes it's all we can do. A single dose dulls even the most agonizing pain, and all other sensation with it. It may be a gentle way to die, but it is death nonetheless. I wish there was another way.
How are you feeling?
Light, mid-here. Drifting on waves.
Good. Just relax. Let the waves carry you to a better place.
Thank you, Taya. I'm so proud of you.
He's gone. Thank you, Rodrigo. And you, Clive?
I'll see that he's properly laid to rest.
The man you helped today was my mentor, back in the Southern Isles, on the front lines of some meaningless war. I was still a child when they shipped me to their triage tents, to treat the wounded with my gift. But in such blighted lands, I was next to useless. Until he taught me the true physicker's art, that is.
An art we would be lost without.
Tears of mercy were his gift to the bearers of the world. A respite from the agony of the curse's end.
And a kindness Sid would have approved of.
You know as well as I what life is like for a bearer soldier. Marched from one battle to the next, never knowing which might be your last. A commander may care nothing for the bearer spent in his service, but my mentor's gift gave the dying one fleeting moment of tranquility before the end. I've no tears left, Clive. I've seen too many of my friends taken. Something needs to change. And we need to be the ones to change it.
And we will. I promise.
I hope so. Clive, I wanted to give you something for the kindness you showed my mentor.
What's this?
A chest of all the medicines you're ever likely to need. Seeing as you're so reluctant to come to the infirmary, I thought you might as well take a part of the infirmary with you.
I'm sure it will be very helpful indeed. And Taya, try not to work too hard.
And work Rodrigo all the harder, you mean? He's a quick study, but he's got a long way to go yet. I'll take that particular piece of advice when you heed it yourself, thank you very much. Besides, who else is going to see that your brother takes his medicine?
Who indeed?
Sid, perhaps you can help me solve a mystery.
I can certainly try. Who's gone missing this time?
It's not who, but what. Mid's scales, the ones she made for her workshop. I borrowed them to teach the little ones about weight, and shortly after the lesson, well, they vanished. My first thought was that they'd taken them off somewhere to play, but when I asked, they swore they had nothing to do with their having disappeared. Which almost certainly means they had everything to do with it.
Perhaps a visit from Sid will jog their memories.
I think it just might. Thank you. I don't like to imagine that my pupils would lie to me. But if they have, I'll have no choice but to discipline them accordingly. They were in the atrium when I last saw them. As always.
What do you reckon we should do?
Sid!
Hard at your studies, I see. And what is that? It's not a set of scales, is it?
No. Of course it isn't.
Well, not anymore, it's not. Oh!
And just how long hasn't it been one?
We're sorry.
But we didn't break them. We dismembered them.
Just like Miss Mididol showed us.
Miss Mididol? And why would she have you dismembering her creations?
Because that's the only way to become a ninja-neer.
Miss Mididol said, the best way to see how something works is to take it apart and put it back together again.
Well then, your work is already half done. Carry on.
About that.
The taking apart was easy enough, but it's the putting back we can't work out.
Speak for yourself. The heavy thing goes at the bottom. Then...
You three need to learn to take responsibility for your actions. So let's have a look at these parts with fresh eyes, shall we? All right. Everything here was once part of Miss Mididol's scales. Every piece has its own role to play, and each is just as important as the others. If even one of them is missing, the scales won't work. So let's think about what those roles might be. You already know one of the pieces. The body. Its role is to support everything else. But what of the others? This is called the arm. Why do you suppose that is? It doesn't look much like an arm.
You're right. It looks more like a wing. Like a chocobo wing!
You've ridden a chocobo before, haven't you, Sid? Will you teach me to ride one day?
I'll think about it. Now, what do arms do?
Hold things. So wait, maybe this arm holds things too?
Good thinking. You're on the right track. These round parts are called the pans. You all know what a pan is, don't you?
I do. Molly uses them in the kitchens to fry bangers.
But these aren't for frying bangers, you idiot. They're for weighing stuff.
But what if I wanted to weigh Goots? I don't think he'd fit on that little thing.
Probably not.
What are the chains for? Holding the pans up?
Well spotted. Which means something must hold the chains up in turn. This tiny piece is what's called a cogwheel, or gear. Have you ever seen one before?
I have. Miss Middledale's dungeon is full of them. Most are on the floor.
She puts them in all her inventions. They spin round and round and round and round and...
That's right. They're very useful when you want to make things move. Do you remember if there was anything on the scales that moved?
I remember the arm moved when I tried weighing an apple. And then somebody ate it.
Not my fault. You shouldn't have tried weighing it before lunch.
We know what part's supposed to move and how it's supposed to move. So, let's put the pieces together first, see what doesn't move, and then stick the cogwheel to that.
Not a bad idea. You see, it's not so difficult. So, now that we've taken stock of the parts and learned what they do, what do you think?
I think we've got it.
Then here's what we'll do. You tell me what goes where, and I'll put the scales together.
Well, obviously you need to start with the body. All the other pieces fit onto it, don't they?
And the arms go on the body, just like real arms.
Or wings, if you're a chocobo.
And then the arms hold the pans by the chains.
Very good. Let's see if that works. Ah, all finished.
Yes! We did it!
Well, with Sid's help.
Oh, I just put the pieces together. It was you three engineers who showed me how.
That's right. We're Miss Middledale's hares.
Her hairs?
Yeah, hares for the future. She's showing us her secrets now, so we can help out the hideaway when we're older.
What do you think, Sid? Are we almost ready?
With a little more help from Miss Middledale and Miss Shirley, I'd say it won't be long at all.
You hear that? It won't be long.
Until then, though, do try to be honest with Miss Shirley.
Hey, look! We never used the cogwheel.
You don't think Sid forgot about it, do you?
There's something about it. I feel like it's...
Well, did you solve the mystery?
It was as you thought. The children had the scales, or The parts of them, at least. They dismantled them to see how they worked.
Oh, no, Mid will have my head.
Thankfully, she won't. This might even have been her idea. Although I was the one who ended up teaching the lesson.
I'm so sorry, Sid. I know how busy you are. I shall see that the children are properly punished.
Please, there's no need. Mid seems to have taken the three of them under her wing. She's even calling them her heirs. She'd have them follow in her footsteps. And her father's.
I see. Sid, do you know why Mid has been spending so much time at the hideaway of late?
She told me it was because her studies have been interrupted by events in Canva. Is that not true?
No, it isn't. The university offered her a commission. In exchange for full tuition, room and board, they asked her to oversee the design of several new war engines. To anyone else it would be an opportunity, but to Mid, who lost both her parents to war, it was a bitter pill. One she was none too keen to swallow. But that should come as no surprise. She's only ever cared about bringing people hope. The very last thing war can be said to do.
Which explains her heirs. She's working to give them a better life. And so should I. What's the odd engineering lesson?
Ah, you've given them far more than that. And I'm sure they're very grateful.
Clive, my boy! Rutherford informs me that we owe you our thanks. Hadn't intended for you to get involved, but such are the times we live in, huh?
I would have done the same for anyone else.
You're far too modest, Clive. You'd make a terrible nobleman. But tell me, is the realm truly in as dire a state as Rutherford suggests?
From what little I saw, you were right to be worried.
I suppose I should have expected the worst. But I was rather hoping the great and good of the realm might have things a little more under control. Alas, it seems that firm leadership is in short supply these days, and without it, the people are bound to lose their way. We must move quickly.
But where do we start?
True, the challenges that face us are many. But in my estimation, there are two key areas to be addressed before any other. The realm's armies and her larders. As you've seen firsthand, it's every man and woman for themselves out there. Certain cities have banded together to try and maintain some semblance of order, yes, but such cases are few and far between. And yet, the only remedy for the chaos that faces us is unity. A unity that transcends even the borders laid down by our ancestors. In short, if Storm does not stand together, she will fall apart.
But how would one even begin to unite the realm?
The armies, my boy. As I told you already, we begin by restoring order among the ranks of those sworn to maintain it. Sadly, I doubt I could convince even the lowliest gaggle of privates to dig a latrine together. But I do know someone the High Commanders have been known to listen to on occasion. Field Marshal Eugen Havel.
I thought he was retired.
He was, until an Akashic army tore through Randalar and killed most of the rank and file. There is no man alive more capable. Literally. And as luck would have it, I've already spoken with him on the matter.
Of course you have.
And he's agreed to help. On one condition. That he first speaks with you personally. Havel has always been a man of frustratingly rigid principle, and he has certain qualms about clasping arms with, well, with an outlaw. I extolled your many virtues as best I could, of course, but the old goat was adamant that he be allowed to appraise you in person. You don't mind, do you, my boy?
Of course not. As long as chaos reigns, we will never build a better world. I'll do whatever it takes. And if the Field Marshal wishes to speak with me in person, then so be it.
That's the spirit.
I'll leave for Randalar at once. Would you send a Stolas?
Of course. Rutherford is already in the Dalmekian capital. I'll have him tell Havel to expect you forthwith.
Excellent. Thank you, Uncle.
No, thank you, Clive.
Do you see that too?
What is it? Oh, please. Just make it stop.
I'm scared.
be Rutherford, can it?
Turncoats and cowards, the lot of you! If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you shall have!
Allow me.
I don't need your...
Please, Field Marshal, oblige him.
This won't take long.
You're right. It won't. Men, finish him.
A little longer than I'd have liked. Field Marshal Havel, I presume. Are either of you injured?
No, my lord. You arrived just as our escort turned on us.
Fucking traitors. I'd heard reports of soldiers in the outlying regions abandoning the oaths they swore. But I hadn't thought the corruption had reached so close to the heart of the Republic. It's a fucking disgrace. Your interfering old bastard of an uncle tried to warn me, of course. My lord Marquis. Or is Sid the Outlaw more to your liking?
Call me what you want. It doesn't change who I am, or the urgency of the message I bring. My uncle has a plan to right the realm, and he needs your help to see it through.
Before I agree to anything, I'd have you answer one question. What do you stand to gain from all this?
I won't deny that I might benefit from further chaos. But I seek a new beginning for all of us. And while the choices I've made may not always have been the right ones, I know I made them for the right reasons. For so long, so many of us have been told how we could live, how we could die, when it should have been our decision all along. Now we have a chance to put things right. But in order to take it, we must stand together. Even if it be beside those with whom we don't see eye to eye.
Certainly not the words I expected from an outlaw. But perhaps your uncle was right. You are no ordinary outlaw. I'll never hear the end of this. All right. I'll start by ordering my most trusted guard to bring the Dalmekian fringes under control. Next, I'll make contact with my counterparts in the Imperial Army and see if I can't convince them to try and restore order in their own territory.
Thank you, Field Marshal.
But they are not the only ones we will need to convince.
What do you mean?
I don't doubt that I can bully some sense into a few generals, but those they answer to require a different kind of persuasion. And when it comes to honeyed words, well, we will need an envoy. One who can court even the most stubborn of statesmen. You, perhaps.
I'm flattered. But I'm no diplomat either. And I have other problems to attend to. What we need is a skilled arbitrator. And I may know just the person.
Is that so? And would he happen to be an outlaw too?
Of a different kind, perhaps.
Well, beggars can't be choosers. I suppose we'll all have to find a little of the outlaw in ourselves if we're to make it through this. Very well. Send your man to me right away.
I shall.
My Lord Marquis. Your Lord Uncle bade me escort the Field Marshal to his manor in Port Isolde.
And I will see that my associate joins you there.
Very good, my lord.
An envoy. I'm not sure I'm the man to talk anyone round. I can barely convince my brother to take his medicine. No. This is a job for someone with experience. Someone like Quentin. I hope I can convince him at least. Quentin, I have a proposal for you.
Do you now? Something tells me you'll be asking more of me than a cask of Gotand gold. Go on then. Propose. You'd have me convince the chiefs and chamberlains of the realm that they should simply swallow their pride and do the one thing that has proved impossible for thousands of years. Was there anything else? Perhaps I can fetch you a meat pie as well.
I know it's a lot to ask, but I can think of none better suited to the role.
And you'd have me give up what little I have left to do it. I told you, Clive. The people of Lostwing are my family, and I cannot abandon them. You'll have to find someone else.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So am I.
And why might that be?
What he's asking. How's it any different to what you've done so far? They want you to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. That's what you do best. If it's the vineyard you're worried about, we'll see that the grapes are picked and the tons filled. You know we will.
It's not that.
Then what is it? You said yourself we're family. Don't you trust us?
You know that's not what I'm...
Then what are you saying? That only we are worth saving? Why turn your back on everyone else? You convinced us we could build new lives for ourselves, and if you can do that, who's to say you couldn't convince the entire realm?
A stirring argument. I fear that any rejoinder I make might fall somewhat flat by comparison.
So you'll join us?
Where do you need me?
Field Marshal Havel will want to speak with you in person. He's currently in Port Isolde. I can arrange for a party of Cursebreakers to accompany you there.
That would be very much appreciated. I hear the roads are far from safe these days.
Hopefully not for long. My uncle will want to know that his plan is taking shape. Uncle, I bring good news. The Field Marshal has agreed to your plan.
Ha! Of course he has. I didn't doubt you for a moment, dear boy.
Rutherford is accompanying him back to your manor in Port Isolde as we speak. They will await your return there. As will one other.
One other? Who, exactly?
Lord Havel was concerned that even if he could get the realm's armies to agree to an accord, he might not be as successful in convincing those with political power. He asked if I might have a solution, and I suggested a certain Imperial Lord Magistrate turned Liberator.
One of your co-conspirators?
Master Quinton would probably call me one of his, but yes.
Another outlaw, then. Just the thing we need to put these rotten politicos in their places. Good thinking, Clive.
I'm glad you approve.
The more the merrier, eh?
Uncle, assuming Havel and Quinton can solve our problem with the armies, you still haven't mentioned how we might manage the grain shortages.
Oh, don't you worry, my boy. The 7 high houses will be seeing to that. They have all agreed to make the most generous of donations. Oh, of course, it did take a little persuasion. But luckily I had some unexpected help.
From who?
Why, you, my boy. Rumor has it that you rescued the Lady Ariane's head steward Rockford from a horde of bloodthirsty bandits.
It was more of a handful.
Well, the old battle-axe was so pleased. She had a shipload of talents delivered to my private docks by the next new moon. And when the other houses saw the parsimonious old crone's purse strings finally loosen, they as good as tripped over themselves in the rush to follow suit.
I'm happy to hear it.
Now, I must be getting back to the manor. Join us there at your earliest convenience, would you?
Of course, Uncle.
And how, pray tell, will we get that grain to the capital if the roads are still overrun with Akashic?
You find another bloody road. I only have so many men, and I'm not about to send them headlong into an ether flood. That is, unless you'd have them turn as well.
Well, I'd certainly eat less.
Says the man with a belly bigger than a band of curls. My soldiers actually need their rations. Without any food to keep them going, they'll be dead even before you've sent them on your fool's errand.
If I may, gentlemen, perhaps I might suggest an alternative approach. Though supply routes are indeed disrupted, there is no shortage of ships. Indeed, they bob away in every bay from here to Randalar, awaiting a safe haven. Allow them to make port and fill their bellies full of grain. And once those who crowd the cities are fed, ferry the displaced back to the countryside to work the fallow fields. But I'm sure that you wish to continue your discussion. Forgive the interruption. Two such firm friends as yourselves need no help from the likes of me. Rutherford spoke fondly of the great bond between you.
Us? Friends?
I can't stand the man!
Clive, I'm beginning to question the quality of the company you keep.
And what kind of company were you expecting him to keep? The man's a criminal!
Criminal? How dare you? You are not fit to breathe the same air as this fine, upstanding young gentleman.
Upstanding? He calls himself Sid the Bloody Outlaw!
Once more onto the breach.
Shall we begin again? What we seek here is not to create a new nation, nor to claim the thrones of those that already exist. We wish simply to bring stability to the realm that mankind might weather the current storm. And to do that, we must convince those in power, the generals, the statesmen, the nobles, that our cause is just. There will be disagreements, yes, and I imagine some resistance, much resistance. But we cannot let that deter us. If we show them the path, show them that we walk it ourselves, then I am confident they will follow. The fate of the world lies in my nephew's hands, but the well-being of her people lies in ours. And we must not squander the chance that Clive has given us.
Uncle Byron,
Now, with that settled, let's move on to the signing of the Accord. For what great moment in history hasn't been accompanied by a little ceremony? Citizens of Valisthea, I present to you the Tri-Unity. Rutherford, Mike Will. Well, my boy, the stage is set.
That it is.
This is the role you were born for. Now I ask only that you trust in the talents of your supporting cast. We shall play our parts to the best of our abilities, that you might have the opportunity to shine. The realm needs its Sir Crandall, and there is no better Crandall than you, Clive. I want you to keep this signed accord as proof of our faith in you.
I will. Thank you, Uncle.